Hey, welcome to Why the Fuck Not. I'm Ed. To my right, I've got the sensation of fitness.
Dwight.
And to my left, I've got the ever skeptic, but always, well, actually seems happier lately.
Yeah, less skeptic.
Yeah, less skeptic. I'm kind of getting a little worried. Anyway.
Oh, I'm plenty skeptical.
It's still in there.
With what's going on in the world.
Anyway, we got Aaron right beside me here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm Aaron.
Yeah. So, Dwight, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. I've actually renovating my basement right now. So.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
that sounds like work.
Yeah, we got a baby on the way. So So I got to get the room set up in the basement for Kayla, which is Christy's sister. There.
Yeah. So you can send the sis
her
downstairs.
Down. Send the sister downstairs.
And the baby stays.
Baby's
upstairs.
taking over her room. Yeah. So I'm doing some manly labor, and boy, does it feel good though to get your hands dirty.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that sense of creation. That
There's
you can
something
get,
like when you're done painting or when you're done drywalling or you know what I mean, and you put it together and you look at it afterwards and you feel the sense of accomplishment.
Do you think that's a very like? Do you think that's brought down in our in like man DNA almost? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Not that women don't get that. Just in the man DNA. Because I remember my dad staring at the one fucking thing he did when he was a kid. And he's like, I fucking did that.
Yeah,
And that was me.
I built that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a house I painted. I remember when I was like 15 years old, and it was like down the perimeter, and it was like this big house that you can see from the perimeter. And I painted it every single time I drive, no matter who I was in the car with, no matter every single time we drove by it, I was like, I painted that house over
That
there.
was me.
That
right
was
there.
me.
There.
See that work right there? That was me.
This guy.
This
guy. I get that like sense of anything I do and like I accomplish. Like even the simple, like it's kind of sad because it used to be like I built this bar, and then it kind of turned down to being like, oh, I painted this room. Right now I'm like, man, I folded that paper. That was fucking me.
That was me who did it.
I folded it like no one else could.
Motherfucker,
I
that
think
was
you get that for a lot of things though. Like even from gardening. Like I'm like when I garden and I get to like pick my own vegetables too.
Oh, that's fucking sense of
and like my
accomplishment.
herb.
Like, this tomato came from my fucking
And then like
garden.
you make some spaghetti and you put some like oregano
just-
on top that you
Yeah,
like you're from
fresh,
your herb garden.
yeah, from your herb garden.
Oh,
Fuck.
and someone eats it and you're like, how does that taste? Is something special? Does
Does it taste a little bit like Dwight?
Yeah.
Does it?
I grew that.
Well, Aaron, how about you? How was your week?
Pretty good actually. Surprisingly, that might be the first time ever you'll hear me say that.
No, I won't. Don't get used to this, folks.
Yeah.
Stop
Well, a couple of weeks ago, my video card died in my computer, and I was crushed. It's like a death in the family.
No, I literally almost gave you a rest in peace when you put that on Facebook.
You should have. Press F to pay your respects. It's a PC Master Race joke. But I got a new video card coming, so I got my tax return. GTX 1070, super clocked.
Not sure
Okay,
what
so
that
so
Yes,
let's. Can you?
letters and
How much
numbers.
better than your last one, or is it better?
My last one, significantly better. My current one, like probably 100 times better.
Well, yeah, but you just got like a fucking run of the mill, like
I got a shit like 9600.
found it in the dumpster. Like, oh, this
Yeah.
probably still works.
No, this is my old video card.
A 9600?
Yeah.
See, like that sounds huge to me. That sounds like the most advanced video. 9600.
Okay, I come from a
Why doesn't
time
it start
where
to 1?
my hard drive
The
was
one. I like the one.
1.
I come from a time where my hard drive was a fucking boot disk. I had to put this floppy in.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just put the floppy. It was put the floppy in and then fucking put all your strength in clicking it down, and then you had to run DOS boot, and then once you get from there, that just gets you to DOS. That's not even like that's just for DOS.
This is pre-Windows.
Yeah, this was my first computer, and I remember when my dad came, he's like, "Oh, I got us a game," and I'm like, "Fucking A!" I've been playing Nintendo. This has got to be better. It's on a computer. Got fucking golf. You know what it was? It was a fucking green screen that looked kind of like a fucking path, and like the square just goes like this, like just kind of upward. Like it was fucking terrible.
No, there's way worse.
So bad.
Never played those text adventure games?
Are you kidding? Fucking Oregon Trail? Look at that shit. Man, you know how many times I caught dysentery? That shit's in the game.
Yeah, we've already talked about this.
Man, yeah, in that fucking game, you can also get like diarrhea and die. Back then, diarrhea is death. You get diarrhea, you're fucking
done.
dead.
Well, done.
They're like, oh man, I squirted.
In many places, not here.
I squirted last night. Oh shit, fucking Bill's only got 3 weeks left. Everybody say, pay your respects. He's fucking shitting liquid right now.
Well, that's like if you're gonna ever call in sick to work and you want to make it a serious excuse. You call in with the diarrhea.
Yeah, people they don't even fucking question. Like, okay,
well, that sounds terrible.
Whatever.
Okay, stay home.
I
don't want you shitting all over the place.
You just fucking shit wherever you need to shit, just not here.
Don't come in. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Easiest way out.
Well, myself, I've had a pretty good week and a sad week at the same time. I don't know how many Americans, like of our American viewers, know that HMV. I'm pretty sure it was something out there at some point, but it's been closed down for a while. Canada has held on to it, like fucking just wouldn't let it go like herpes, just fucking keeping it forever.
Yeah, that's what
HMV
Canada
sells
does.
CDs and records,
Yeah.
and it's like a music. It's our modern music shop.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now
Basically,
they've mostly moved
it's like
to, like-
Tower Records out there, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
I say it looks like they've mostly moved to like movies and posters and
Like
stuff
shirts
like
and
that.
like stupid shit that
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with music. But originally, back
People
when I was a
weren't buying enough
kid,
CDs after.
yeah, like I remember walking in when I was a kid, and like that's all it was fucking thousands of CDs, and it was like lots of rare CDs and stuff. Like, oh, they have like this one
Limited
fucking version of a
edition
Green Day album that's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a single that's like green, and like
Yeah.
you can only get like 10 of them in the world, and they fucking got one there. And like that's how it started. But now you can't walk in, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's closing down. So I took my last trek into there to kind of buy my last couple things that I would ever buy, and it was on 60% off. It was a sad state of affairs because it wasn't a CD that I bought. About 3 movies actually. I got Gotham, the
Sweet.
Blu-ray, just to check it
Solid.
out. It's $16. It's at least worth trying. And then I bought Get Shorty and Be Cool on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Be
which
Cool
is
is a good movie.
Yeah, they were good. I liked. I was like, man, my wife would probably like The Rock's portrayal of the bodyguard in that. Like as
Well, I remember too, and your wife did excellent at work one time, and we wanted to buy her like an Employee of the Month thing, and the first thing we all thought of was HMV because they have some cool, funky stuff there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And authentic stuff that
Yeah.
you don't find in a lot of other places.
oh, absolutely.
yeah. I think what was it that we ended up? I think it was like a.
I can't remember. I remember you got something though. It was like a cup. Oh, you know what it was? It was the spatula.
This spatula.
Yeah, the Batman spatula.
Exactly.
We're nerds, by the way. Like my family's like,
If you haven't
you don't
noticed,
if we buy, okay, that puts you on nerd status. When you buy a spatula that has bat symbol on it, all you are is making cookies with a bat symbol. Like that says something anyway. But yeah, I took my last trek into there, walked around, sadly walked out with not very much. So that was like a little bit bittersweet. You know, I was able to get in, have like almost like come complete circle. I came in there when it was something special,
Yeah.
and I'm walking out when there's nothing left. You know, I got to see the whole beginning to demise.
You feel
of it.
older?
Much older. Holy fuck, do I feel old?
you
But
should have burnt it down.
I should have burnt
It's
it.
the only logical conclusion.
Well, folks, if you didn't know, this is Why the Fuck Not. This is where 3 friends actually stand around one table and bring in 3 random topics of discussion, all for your amusement. And we basically kind of kick things off in the same order most of the time. So I think this time we're going to run over to Dwight and ask you what your topic for today is.
Let me clear up. We're sitting at this table. We're not standing.
I like standing.
Standing sometimes.
You're ruining the illusion.
We're all standing around the microphone right now. Today, I'm gonna stay on my positive train like I always do, and how traveling will enhance your life. So
Ooh.
the reason I'm talking about this is because I hear all the time people, and especially like we're younger and the industry that we're in, there's a lot of younger people too working there, and a lot of them, almost all of them, say they want to travel at some point. Like when you ask them, "What's your goal in the next year? What do you want to do?" Or it's either like, "Oh, I'm going to university," or "I want to travel." It seems to be like the only two. There's like
Well,
the
damn it,
only two
Dwight.
options that.
I really want to catch hepatitis B. That's my goal for the next year.
Yeah.
Well, you can do that by traveling.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's it. It all comes back
I
together.
knew it. That's why you're getting your Twin Rex tomorrow, right?
that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, first of all, do you guys have any traveling experience? Well, Ed.
Very little. I've most of my traveling has been in Canada for the most part. I've traveled to the States once, and it was like I can't remember exactly. It was like a friend's cabin in Minnesota, and it was before we needed passports to go across. So this was like
Driver's license.
It wasn't even like as a kid I could just go.
Oh, okay.
It didn't
Yeah.
even fucking matter.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that-
was just in the back of the car. I didn't have one. I've never had one until recently.
Yeah.
So I was able to just go. I didn't have a license back then or anything. I just brought my birth certificate. I think is all I needed,
Yeah.
or something like that. So we went
Wow.
there. That was a long time ago. Very like not even a memorable trip. But most of the time, it's been to Ontario because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
So I travel from Manitoba to Ontario, which is a long ass fucking trip, by the way. Like it almost
8
feels.
hours.
Well, yeah, it took 22 hours to get to my hometown in Ontario.
Yeah.
It looks deceiving on a map.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
turns
Yeah.
in there, so it took 22 hours. But and then besides that, I went to Banff a couple times. I lived in Banff for a very short period of time, and that's
What was your favorite place and most memorable place?
okay. Favorite place, definitely my hometown, North Bay. It's I love a small town that still feels like a big town, and that's
Yeah.
what it is. So shout out to North Bay, Ontario. Kevin Baptiste, that's for you.
Nice.
It is a really cool place. Like I miss. It's gonna sound fucking dumb, but I just miss hills. I miss hills. I miss like fucking because in Manitoba we're
Well,
flat.
you don't
We're
like
prairies.
staring at
Definitely
plane?
don't
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah, like I'm tired of staring at Regina. Like that's, I'm just sick of it.
Yeah.
But over there they had hills, so I used to go hiking when I was a kid a lot, and like we had to deal with shit like mountain cougars and stuff like that. But Banff is like the next fucking spectrum on that, like big mountains and stuff.
More
so
than hills,
that's
yeah.
that's my big travel stuff. It's not much, but it's minimal.
Aaron?
The biggest hill I've ever seen was in Saskatchewan.
Jeez.
It was a speed bump, really.
Yeah. I was born in Saskatchewan, moved to Manitoba. I've gone on somewhere in Ontario, I think Thunder Bay. I went there like twice.
Yeah,
And then
it's not too far away.
This was when I was young. The only recent traveling I've done is a couple of years ago I went to Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon.
Wow, you are living.
So I got all the traveling I need to do. I'm good.
You're done? That's it?
No, I would love to travel.
So-
I've never been anywhere.
What was your favorite part about Thunder Bay, if you don't mind me asking? Like, because it is actually a dramatic difference, like just the travel there, even.
I was so young, so I don't remember a lot of it. The things I remember were when we were driving there was lots of jagged rock faces that you drive through.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
pretty cool.
Scary as shit sometimes in the winter
Yeah.
when you got ice
Oh,
all
yeah,
underneath you.
yeah.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah, I did the winter trip this year. That was scary as
I've
shit.
never done winter.
Oh boy, yeah, we went through a blizzard during it. It wasn't fun.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not fun.
So it's cool because like we all have different experiences. You have a little moderate amount. You have next to none, and I got a lot. So I think it's cool that we can hear all at least perspectives on it, and we can at least understand where everyone's coming from as far as traveling goes.
I personally know your stuff, but why don't you tell the audience at
Yeah.
least like a small little bit of where you've been?
So, like, I made a list of like things that I think that how traveling does enhance your life, and I'm a huge everyone needs to travel at some point or another. I'm gonna go through all the reasons why, but my biggest story. So the first thing is improve social and communication skills. So if you guys, I know you guys we've known each other for a shorter time, but back when I first did my first travel, I was 17 years old. And I traveled to Europe for my first. It was 3 months I went, and
That's fucking scary at that age.
and
Wow.
it's scary at that age. And it's like you don't, it's especially how antisocial I was. Like I wasn't very outgoing at all. I didn't talk to and it's weird to hear that now because now I'm very outgoing, and it's completely. I've done a 180 through it.
Question:
And,
was this Fat Dwight or is this?
It's Fat Dwight.
This is Fat Dwight.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Do you mind being referred
well, it was
to
in
as
between.
Fat
It was
Dwight?
Well, no, that's right. It's like just saying,
Overweight.
like overweight. You're not fat, but like overweight
Yes.
Dwight. Like this was before the
Yes.
fitness
So
and
this was
everything?
what I was like. Yeah, like high school does that to you, right? Too. It's easy for you to get picked on, and I was very hard to like get out of your shell, and but so I booked this trip, and I knew I wouldn't go traveling unless I had the money. I saved up. And I knew I wouldn't go on a trip unless, like, I would keep delaying it unless I just paid for the ticket, bought the ticket, and then forced myself to go. So I had an exchange student. His name was Christian, actually, and he lived in Denmark, and he was an exchange student at our school, and we became really close friends. And he was just always telling me about, this is so great from here, and he was one of the coolest guys I've ever met. He traveled the world before he was 18 years old. Like he's seen more than most people have ever seen in their lives, and he was 18. And his perspective on life was just amazing. And I was like, I want to be exactly like this guy, because he was like, everyone loved him in school. He didn't pick sides. He wasn't necessarily, I don't know how you'd categorize popular, but he was friends with everyone, and everyone just looked up to this guy, and he was just so friendly, and no matter what, and he was always there to lend a helping hand, and he was such a fun guy to be around. And so I was like, I don't know, I want to be more like you, was basically the thing. And he was telling me about his hometown, Denmark, and how much he loved it, and all the great experiences he had there. So I decided to make my first stop. I bought my ticket to Europe, and the first stop was in Denmark. It was Copenhagen. So I had 3 months, and I was like, I was going to travel. I didn't have any plans set. I had no one to go with. And I knew like that would be another barrier in my road if I would have had to look for someone to go with, because who knows if... The thing with going with someone as well is like, you don't know if they're going to want to go to the same places as you. You're going to have to decide on a daily basis like what you guys want to do together.
Somebody might get homesick before
Someone
the
might
other.
get homesick. A million other things come in the way. Homesick is going to be a part of it, no matter what. Like when you're traveling for a long period of time, you go through ups and downs. There's for sure, right? But I thought going by myself would be a really good experience. Having Christian there in Denmark probably really helped me for my first leg of the journey, anyways, because I had someone to like talk to and feel comfortable, at least in my surroundings, a tiny bit, and someone to meet me at the train station. So it was cool that I at least had that outlet to start my trip on. And so, yeah, I just booked the ticket. I booked the flight, went there, had no plans on where I wanted to go. I had a lot of money and I had a lot of time. I saved up, and so I was just going to go for it. And so I started my journey in Copenhagen. And he lives in a little small town called Unza, and they grow white asparagus. Funny with Unza, yeah. It's spelled Odense. And
That sounds right, yeah.
I thought it was Odense. I kept. I was like, I remember getting off the train station. He's like, "I'll be in." And when he's like, "Meet me in Denmark," and I was like, "Okay," like, and I live in Odense, so I thought, okay, or Odense. He spelt it, and I just thought it was Odense. But he said, "Meet me there," and I was like, "Oh, Denmark's a small country, like no problem. I'll land in Copenhagen, and I'll take a bus over to
Odense." Which, by the way, Odense sounds a lot like a deodorant. I'm just saying, like it kind of sounds like a. Does it not? It kind of sounds like a. Easily Old Spice. Try Old Spice.
So yeah, I went. I got there and I said, I need a ticket to Odense, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's Odense?" And there is no Odense. And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I'm there, and I just have nothing to do. But it gets you into the position where you have to face a lot of fears, like when you're traveling by yourself specifically. So this is where I think I really changed my character and really developed on who I was going by myself. So I'm really happy I ended up going by myself. So I went and met with Christian. We hung out for 3 weeks. We had an awesome time. I got to see his hometown. And then I had a lot of other time on my trip, and he really encouraged me. He said, "You know what? Just go do so. Go to another country. Go see what's out there because I know you're here for a long time. And you don't want to just be stuck here." So so I bought a plane ticket to Amsterdam. I knew I wanted to go to Amsterdam. I'm Dutch. I got family there. So my great grandma, she knew her. It was like her cousin. She's like, "I got a phone number. I know someone who lives there." So she gave me this phone number. I've never met this lady in my life. Apparently, she's my auntie, is what she would call her. Never met her in my life, never talked to her at all. And a day before I was going to Amsterdam, I emailed her because she gave me her email. And I said, like, "Hey, this is Dwight. You probably don't know who I am."
Sounds like one of the
but
scams,
you know who
right?
This is. Yeah,
can you just send me your credit card
situations.
information and I will send it back to you with
pretty much,
more money in it?
Yeah, pretty much, right?
That is called the 419 scam.
Yeah. So she answered my email right away and was so excited that I contacted her and was able to. And she just. The most amazing part is when I landed in Amsterdam, she showed up at the airport, and she had to take a train from where she lived to get to this airport, and she opened the first night. I remember I got there about 10 o'clock at night, and as soon as I got there, she gave me a big hug. She introduced herself, and she gave me her bus pass. She didn't have very much to her name. She had a small little place in Amsterdam. It was 10 stops from the red light district. On tram.
Nice and close.
So
that
it's
is
close,
crazy
but
close.
Yeah, so she gave me her bus pass, she gave me the keys to her home, and she gave me...
Oh, that's familial right there.
And this lady had nothing to her name. She's poor. She has a tiny little place, and I couldn't believe that she gave me her entire life in my hand after knowing her for... a day. No time. Yeah, a day.
So you could have fun at a red light.
She said, "Go out." Yeah, she said, "Go take the bus. This is where it's fun. Go down here." And she gave me the keys.
All the hookers.
Yeah, exactly. She was awesome. She was super. Oh, she was the best. But I just couldn't believe how amazing that someone, because how many strangers do you know if someone called you and you've never met them before, never heard of them before, and said, "I'm coming there," and you gave them the keys to your home and you gave them your only means of transportation.
That is fucking...
after not knowing them.
It almost from what I'm getting almost shivers thinking about it, but it's that instant sight, family sight, boom, family.
It almost
instant,
was one of those.
Yeah,
Trust, love.
Clearly, we are family.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was amazing. So she gave me it. I went and partied in the red light district and hung out with her for a while, and then I stayed at her place for about a week, and then I started doing hostels.
Ooh, how was that experience?
So yeah, hostels are amazing because a lot of people who are traveling by themselves just one of their biggest things is I don't know where I'm going to stay, and they're afraid that they're going to get robbed, and they're afraid that there's a million things that you can be scared of.
Quentin Tarantino didn't make it easy for people either with those movies.
He really didn't. I know, hostels. Yeah, terrifying.
I really don't want to get a drill in my knee is what I'm trying to say.
No, that's right. So they made it. Yeah. So, but it was. Where was I going with that?
You're talking about how people are scared of getting robbed and stuff within the hostels.
Yeah, so that was the biggest thing. So when I went to the first hostel I stayed at actually was in Berlin. It was in Germany. So after Amsterdam, I went to Berlin, and the hostel there I stayed in was so if you get the bigger room, so the more beds in the room, the cheaper the stay is. So the bigger the room, so it's all shared showers, shared everything. And then I was in a room with 10 other beds. So it's you gotta trust these other travelers. And the biggest thing is you gotta, and the great thing about hostels is other people are doing exactly what you're doing. So you don't feel alone. So it's like when you're gone out, you're going to meet other people who are doing exactly what you're doing. And you're going to meet friends, like regardless, because you're not going to sit there in this room with 10 other people and not say hi to that person next to you and say, hey, where are you from? What are you doing? Because they're all looking to meet people as well.
There's a good chance they're from another country as well.
And they're doing the same thing. They went on a limb. They went out by themselves. And there's going to be a million other people doing exactly what you're doing. And hostels are a great way to bring people together.
Not to mention one person finds out about this place, so let's all go fucking do that tonight.
Yeah.
And then, like, why wouldn't you, right?
And that's it.
And
Yeah. Hey, we're going out.
Safer.
This looks like a cool tour. Let's all go on. And that's what we did. We did, like, some pub crawls and just random strangers. And I met friends that I have for the rest of my life now, just doing things like that. It was amazing. And hostels was like, if I didn't stay in a hostel, if I would have just stayed with people I knew the whole time and been comfortable the whole time, I definitely wouldn't have got any of the experience that I got. So people who want to travel, I highly recommend doing something like that. Looking into the hostel, make sure it's like a safe place and go.
Yeah, you don't want to
go
to like the hostel called the Dirty Needle or something.
Yeah, that's right. There's some sketchy ones, and you can tell. Just look at some reviews, right? But for the most part, they're great, and it's all people just doing exactly what you're doing. So it makes for just an amazing experience.
I have a quick question about your friend from Denmark. Actually,
Sure. Yeah.
You said that he was well traveled already, right?
Yes.
How was that? Was it just because of doing foreign exchange, or was it because he was like military, or like what?
Yeah,
brought
it
him
was
around?
foreign exchange.
It was
So
foreign
he did.
exchange?
Yeah, he did Canada for a couple of years. I think he went to like Brazil or something. And the people that when he came and did the exchange with us, he traveled much before he came to Winnipeg. But the traveling that he did, when you're on an exchange program or an exchange group, there's other kids that are on an exchange program that you swap houses with, like it is exchange, right? So you get when he came in, he knew there was also a girl from Germany, there was also a girl from Brazil, there's also a girl from Alaska, from all the other parts of the world that were still in the same school, so they have like kind of like a social outlet for other people that
They
are
got at
doing
least
exchanges.
somebody there they know.
So then they met all those other people, and he was very friendly. So then he got to travel to see their hometowns afterwards too. So they all went, and so the girl from Berlin, I know specifically, she went and visited him right after they were done and he went to Germany right after that. She visited him, he went there, and his parents, the biggest thing was his parents like really, really encouraged it. I remember when I was staying at his dad's house, and we'd even sit at the table, and he would always question me like, where have you been? Where are you going? And he would always make me speak, like he wouldn't let me speak English. Like,
He'd make you try and learn the language?
He'd make me try to learn the language. So when I say, like, pass the butter or something like that, he would say it in his language, and he'd say, repeat it. And I'd have to repeat it, and then he'd pass me the butter.
Oh,
because
geez.
he wanted to get me cultured. He wanted me to, like, have an easier time next time I went. He wanted me to bring something back with me that was more than just...
Do you remember any of it?
I remember, like, Skull and, like Cheers and, things like that.
The ones that you use the most. Right?
The ones that you use the most, right?
That's pretty cool.
So, but it was like he would force me on it, and I now I look back on it, and at the time I was like, come on, man, just give me the butter, you know what I mean? It was like one of those, come on. But now I look back on it and be like, if he didn't do that, like I wouldn't have cherished that time with him as much as I did. Like
Created
I
a
wouldn't
memory,
have,
right?
Yeah, and it's like you're absorbing their culture that way, right? It's not like you're just on some strict plan where you're meeting other English people that are from Canada who you typically want to find and bond with and speak the same language
just
with,
going
and
to the same tourist spots
doing the same
over and
thing.
over.
Yeah, exactly. It made you more cultured.
I've literally always heard about doing like exchange students and stuff like
Oh.
that, and I never knew what it took to get into it. But I've always met them, right? So like, I've never heard in my passings, I've never heard one of my friends being like, "I'm going to do foreign exchange," but I've always heard of them taking in foreign exchange and stuff like that, like all the time. So.
My kid for sure is going to go on an exchange program. It's the most valuable thing you can ever give to a kid, right? So going down my list even too, right? It's it instills fear. It's good to have that fear. And I talked about this almost in the first podcast. It's good to instill fear in you and then overcome it. So when you're by yourself and you're put in situations where it's like, okay, you're looking, you're in Berlin and you got to get to your train station at this time, and you're looking at the trams and all the street names are German, right? Like, and it's all this foreign language and no one speaks your language, and so you got to figure out like how to navigate yourself. No one's going to help you.
Yeah,
you're there by yourself.
You're on your own.
You're
It's
on
up
your
to
own.
you
You're
now.
in a foreign country. It's up to you and yourself solely to get to the next point of your journey, right? To get home, to get wherever, to have fun. It's all up to you, and it's the biggest is self-discovery that you learn out of it all. You learn how to deal with your fears. You learn how to problem solve. You learn how to do all that because you're forced to when you travel.
It almost seems, sorry to cut you off,
No,
it
it's
almost
okay.
seems like a kind of meditation. 'Cause, if you're traveling,
what
a
else
lot
you
of the time you're alone. You're alone with your thoughts.
Yep. I remember a lot of the time I was panicked. Like, I get panicked a lot of the time. I remember one of the scary... I'm going to jump to a different country and a different story, but one time I was in Thailand, and I landed in Bangkok, and I went south to Phuket. So it was an 8-hour bus drive to Phuket, and they load... I don't remember how much I paid for this bus ride to get down there, but they cram a bunch of people in these buses. Like, it's not like
what you see on the TV.
Like what you see on the TV, like people hanging off the goddamn
top,
side. Yeah. Like, it's very squished, and you got no room. And I remember being stuck with this guy sitting beside me, and he didn't say a word to me when I first sat down. And he kind of looked like an intimidating guy. I was the only white guy on this bus, and no one was
just
talking.
sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And everyone kind of, like, I mean, it wasn't...
Everybody's like, yeah, your name must be Duke.
They're used to terrorists, and they're... Yeah, exactly. But Bangkok is a scary place. There's a lot of people. But this guy I sat next to, it ended up being the most memorable, and it was the greatest conversation I've ever had in my entire life with anyone, and the guy next to me was mute. He didn't speak a word of English. He couldn't hear anything I was saying, and he pulled out a pen and paper, and he would write on the pen's paper, like, hey, my name is... Because I tried to talk to him and say, like, hey, I'm Dwight. How are you doing? Where are you going? And, I was just wanting to meet someone and didn't want to feel
somebody
alone.
on this fucking bus.
Yeah, hey, asshole.
And he just said, like, I couldn't talk. He started waving his hands around his ears. I can't hear you. I can't... He was mute. So he wrote down his name on a piece of paper, and we exchanged this piece of paper. We just kept writing back and forth to each other. So we'd have, like, a paragraph at a time. We'd give it over to them, back and forth. And just, like, our emotions... Like, the conversation we had without actually speaking... It was amazing because like you can read his facial expressions and you can take in how he feels about what he read, and you really learn to like your communication skills, right, have to go above and beyond to communicate with someone like that.
I think that'd be a good challenge for people today. Is just to do that. Like, whether you meet or not, you just pass a paper back and forth, have a full conversation that way. That would be like a really good
super cool
exercise in relationships.
Totally.
Yeah,
and you really get out what you're feeling, right? Like, it's easier to write something down than it is to say it a lot of the time.
We live in a world of 140 characters, right? Like, and that's really hard to express yourself in that type of thing. It's nice to see something like that kind of happen, where you can, like, have a full-blown conversation without actually verbally communicating at all. Like, it's a cool, interesting way of, like, possibly doing something.
It was a memorable moment for sure. It was super cool, and the guy was amazing, and I still talk to him. I still have him on Facebook, and I still talk to him, and it was amazing. So,
did you do that on your way to Saskatoon?
No.
Did you didn't run into anyone like that?
No, I just sat there alone on my bus. Weird things happen in Manitoba on Greyhound buses.
Oh, yeah, we've got a family story we were going to do. Really bad, but like I get what you're saying with the fear, especially with this most recent trip when we went to North Bay. It was scary as shit. I'd never done a big drive like that by myself, like me and my wife, right? We've never done something like that. And this was kind of like, it was a bit of a test to, one, the relationship, two,
sit in a car for 22 hours.
Yeah, 22 hours takes a lot. Like, you can, if you can do that with somebody, you can do just about anything with somebody.
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty good with that. But, I drove for a long fucking time, like, there was times that, like, my eyes were, like, bugging out just because of, like, and I didn't realize how much it fucks your eyes up being on the road that long and just driving, but...
Yeah.
It was so fucking scary because I'd never done something like that. I was worried I was going to, like... take a wrong turn, and it was like a serious worry on my, like, almost anxiety-driven worry about it. Going there, when we arrived, I had this like sense of accomplishment, and then I had that worry of like, fuck, we got to go back.
Yeah, you're driving through the unknown. Yeah. The biggest thing, the easiest way, and I put it, is traveling forces us to temporarily disconnect from our normal routine, which is a good thing, which in turn helps us appreciate the people and things around us.
That's definitely true, and that's definitely important. That's why vacations are important. Certain places in Europe, have like mandatory paid vacations.
Oh yeah,
totally. Yeah, and relaxation's another point. That's another benefit to it.
Life can't always be work.
Life can't always be work. And you know what? Like, and a lot of people are going to have objections saying, you know what? It's nice to hear about traveling, but I don't have the money. I don't have the time. And all I can say to you is, like, you're making it so you don't have the money. You're making it so you don't have the time. Like, I grew up in a poor family. I was a single mother. Or I wasn't a single mother. I was raised by a single mother
I've ever seen.
Like, you did well.
You aged well.
You did well.
She had 3 jobs. We didn't have any money. I never really had any money, but I worked for it all. And I chose, to put money aside to go, I sometimes... Like, when I went to Thailand, for example, it was just a random pick. It was just like throw a dart on a map. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't anything particular that I had to go to Thailand for or wanted to go to Thailand
small
for.
To hit on a map.
North Korea. Fuck.
Fucked it up. Fucked it up. I don't play darts. Yeah.
I suck at darts.
Take two.
But it's one of those things where it's like, if you really truly want to do it, you'll make the time, you'll find the money, and you just got to, you just got to do it, and you'll figure it out. It's like anytime you're being backed into a corner, it's easy to find a way out. So, for example, like the metaphor I'm going to use is like, even when you have a job, say if you get fired from your job unexpectedly, what do you like? And I know people who have tried to look for work for months. They'll keep trying and trying to find work, and they'll keep saying, I don't have any work. But as soon as that person loses their full-time job where they're making an X amount of money and they need that money to pay their rent, as soon as they're pushed into a spot where they have to make money, they have to find a job, there's no other reason, like, you're not going to survive if you don't, those people find a job. And it's because they're pushed into a corner to do it.
They have no choice.
They have no choice.
It's like when you have an exam coming
kill or
up.
be killed.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And you have to push it all. You cram it in.
Cram everything at the last
Everyone
minute.
does it. And it's the same with traveling. If you're pushing it, if you really, really, truly want to go, and you really want to, gain this life experience, save the money enough. Like, if you have enough money to go out to eat once a week, and you just, forfeited you going out for dinner night for, 4 months, and you took that money and you put it towards a plane ticket, you're going to find the money to find the funds to, spend the money when you're gone. But that first step is saving the money and saying no to that, that takeout dinner, and putting your time into and your money into something like traveling that you want to do.
A lot of self-control.
Yeah, you need a lot of self-control, but it's definitely not out of the realm of... There's no reason you can't do it, is what I'm saying. And I get there's going to be objections when you have kids and you have other things going on. But again, that's another barrier, another thing an excuse that...
You got to overcome yourself.
Yeah, young kids don't have to pay for a plane ticket. You can bring them almost anywhere. It's it's if you wanted to go somewhere, you'll find a way to do it. So that's all I got to say about people, because I hear way too often like, I wish I traveled, or I wish I could travel. It's like, well, I know your situation you're in, and I know how many times a week you go out. I know, like, your priorities just aren't set straight to do so. So I'm trying to encourage and say the benefits of traveling so that you can make that initial step to going on a journey like this, because it's gonna really benefit your life.
I think ultimately you get what you put into it too.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Traveling, yeah. If you go in with nothing, you're gonna get nothing out of it.
Yeah, that's right, 100%. Another thing that traveling does for you is enhances your tolerance for uncertainty. So it's kind of like we were talking about before again. Going into the unknown, it's going to have that fear factor. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to miss home. But it pushes you to get to that point. Boosts your confidence. So this was a big one for me, boosting my confidence, because when I was there by myself, it's like I said before, you're forced, either you're going to have a terrible time if you just keep to yourself, or you have to force yourself. And to someone who's very antisocial, going out of the way and meeting a stranger is super difficult. I was there. I was that person. I understand it.
Forget that. If you're antisocial, it's hard to get to people that you even know sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's hard to even call your friend, right?
I think that might be alleviated by being in a different country.
Well, you're forced. You have no option.
Yeah,
it's either you're going to
true.
sit by yourself, you got to ask for help sometimes. You're going to have to ask for directions. You're going to have to, you're put in a situation that you have to do it. So fear is the only thing that's going to, make you a better person at the end of the day, like I've said before. So you're constantly put in this situation where you have to do things like that.
I must say, over the past 4 weeks, you have sold me on fear. You really have.
It's the best feeling. It's the best thing you could ever ask for.
I've never thought of fear in that sense until talking to you about this type of stuff, and that's like a total compliment, because I've never looked at it in that perspective before. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry. It was on my mind.
No, that's good. Gets real life education. So it's kind of like we were talking about the schooling the other day too. It's like, this is giving you a lot of life experience that you can't pay for. You're put in a situation where maybe you're running out of money. Maybe you don't have money to pay for food the next day. You're going to figure it out. You're going to find some kind of job. You're going to ask the hospital if I can wash some dishes, or if I can do something to get some money, or you're going to have to go out of the way and figure out a way to solve this problem. But if you're on your own, you're put in a situation again where you have to figure it out for yourself. There's not a security net waiting for you. It's you versus yourself, and you'll always find a way through it. But it's you breaking your own mental barriers. That's the true reward in it all. So even if you don't have a lot of money and you're not going on a luxurious travel, like, half the journey of traveling is battling yourself and your own emotions, because they're going to come out, and
some places you can get pretty cheap too.
Oh yeah. Thailand was one of them. I remember
Thailand.
Koh Phangan. There was a little island on the southeastern coast of Thailand, and I remember I paid for like a beachfront hut with there was a massage parlor just down the street for like a $2 foot massage. But I remember I paid $5 a night to stay in this beachfront hut, and it was another $2 a night to have air conditioning in there, because air conditioning is like a huge commodity. Like, it's, yeah. So I paid for the air conditioning, and I remember it was like $7 a night, and I was looking around me. I was like, I have my own private beach. I pulled a coconut down from the tree. I think I went open and drank my coconut. Like, I was like, this is like paradise, and I'm paying $5. You know
That's
what I mean?
crazy.
Awesome.
To get there. So it's,
The most expensive part is the plane ride over, which
100%. Oh, yeah. It
isn't even that much.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, exactly.
Especially back then, too. Like, when you were that age.
Yeah.
The price was definitely different back then.
Yeah, so it's, and again, it's like and Thailand too was like, that was a scary place actually, but it was, Bangkok was a scary place, but I got stories for days about that.
So many people.
But develop culture sensitivity was another thing that you get out of it, so you can understand where other people come from, which is, I think, a huge, I think everyone needs to travel, at least to take that out of traveling. Is you can understand someone's culture and you can understand where they come from, so you're not such a naive person yourself.
I think this
maybe you don't think you're naive, but it's going to help you understand where other people come from, and there's going to be a more sensitive side to yourself, and you're not going to be so one-sided, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this world can use a lot more tolerance, and that would probably help it out a lot.
Yeah, 100%. If there's one thing I think that you're going to get out of it, then that's what it is. Another big thing is helps you learn who you are. So that's exactly what I did. My life changed for the better, and it was because I traveled. I found out who I was. I put myself in so many scary situations that, now, like, if we get lost and if I'm somewhere on a road out in the middle of nowhere, which sometimes happens, like when you're driving or whatever it is, or if we're traveling somewhere else, like if I've gone to Vancouver and I don't know where the hell I am or where I'm going, I'm not scared. I'm never scared. Like, if I'm ever lost and I don't know where we are, we have no money and no cell phone services or whatever it is, I don't panic. Like, it's like an instant, like, okay, we'll figure it out. We're in this situation now. Let's figure it out. And it's like a calming, I almost feel comfortable with that situation now. When it's like, Christy would freak out, right? Like, it would be like instant panic mode. And like, oh my God, we got to call them. Where are we?
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? But it's like, you learn to just have the problem-solving skills and be able to handle it on your own.
Why do I see in 2 years you just fucking, like, take her out to nowhere and just be like, okay, let's go.
What now?
What are we doing?
What now? What are we doing?
This is a test. Figure it out.
Just leave.
I'm taking it.
Just walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, find your way home.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Here's
Life
a
lesson.
torch.
You'll figure this out.
Christy, you actually have done more traveling. Christy's done more traveling with me in her entire life than she's ever done in her entire life when she was with me. So
I will admit, she has gone way more than as long as I've known her.
She's done I force it on her because I know how important it is in my life, and it really gets me. It's like it's self-reflection as well, right? It really lets me to like step back to myself and see like, okay, like puts me in perspective. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And I can feel when I'm starting to fall out of it. And I know that it's usually a traveling and a new adventure, or I need some kind of fear in my life, and traveling tends to bring that on. That draws me so much towards it and makes me want to continue to do it.
I think with people staying at home and not traveling so much, the world starts becoming
isolated.
More like isolated to the point that your world is your bubble, right? Nothing else exists outside of your bubble.
That's right, yeah.
Being able to travel expands that world a little bit. So, like, even if it's not infinite, it at least gives you a little bit more of a perspective of like, hey, the world isn't just my work and my road.
There's
to
way
work
more
and
to the world, yeah.
My gym.
That and what you were saying about regiment monotony. If you're doing the same
Yes.
thing every day,
That's the
going
sickest
to another
disease you can
country
ever have.
or just anywhere.
I think repetition is one of the biggest killers out there. Like,
Yeah,
it does a lot to people.
Yeah, you just don't grow, right? It's you doing the same thing every single day.
I think we humans
you're not a
are
different
just
person.
naturally just fall into the same pattern, so you just want to keep
We're
doing
creatures
it.
of habit.
Yeah, everyone does that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great move. Like, I'm going to probably start taking that advice that you said, taking a different trip to
Yes.
work and stuff like that, just to change it up a little bit.
Yeah,
And, like,
totally.
Even those small little changes can really make a difference. I know that's not big
100%.
travel, but even that's the point, though. I think that I'm personally trying to like get across, and like from what you're saying is that you can make little changes to your life to be able to make a small difference. Like, it doesn't always need to be big, right?
Yeah, and when I say traveling too, it's like you said, it's like traveling could just be somewhere new. It doesn't need to be Europe or Thailand. It doesn't need to be that. It's just going to a place that you've never been before and seeing how people live there and putting yourself in that society and that culture for a little bit of time. It doesn't have to be, it could be Saskatchewan. People are different in Saskatchewan. People have maybe a different views. There's a different,
I find Saskatchewan's way different.
Yeah.
Like, my one lone travel experience, my mom moved to Saskatchewan for a little bit, and I went to see her for a couple weeks. I think it was like a week and a half in the summer. So it was my first time ever doing any sort of traveling alone. I took a bus there, which several hours, and it was even that. It was fun. I wish I could have been like alone in the city, but like I was chilling with my mom, even just like, which was great. Like, you know, I love my mom. My mom's great, and we just. Even just being alone on the bus, it feels like you're doing something. It's an adventure.
Yes.
There's new shit. I was literally taking pictures of mountains. Not even mountains. People would call them hills. And people were just looking at me.
But it's
they're
new.
Like, they're
right?
like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I'm from Manitoba.
It's new. It's new. It's exciting. It's your own adventure. It's like exactly what you were saying.
You can make it into whatever you want.
That's right.
This is a very small thing, but like in the same sense, even in your own city. When me and my wife got married, we couldn't do a honeymoon that year because we paid for our own wedding like outright. So what we did is we got a honeymoon suite at what we call the Forks out here. If you guys don't know what it is, it's
Inn at the Forks.
Yeah, Inn at the Forks is what we did, actually, the honeymoon suite there.
Oh, wow.
So what the Forks is, for the people that don't know, originally is like that's basically our trade center, where everybody would bring their trade. Anyway, it's turned into like this like nostalgic almost like it's still a trade, you know, like you can go and find different.
It's a hot touristy spot.
Yeah. We decided to go there,
there,
and we visited things that we never fucking knew existed. We treated it like it was a destination.
Wicked.
Yeah,
awesome.
we got to see these things that we had never seen before. And one of, I think, I'm going to remember this till the day I die. We just walked across a bridge. I think if you've been there, there's that bridge that kind of brings you across to like a bike path.
Yeah.
We found a bench there that just overlooked a fucking a dip in
Beautiful
a field.
view.
That's it. No, beautiful. It was fucking trees.
All right.
But it was gorgeous. It was a windy day. We just sat there for like an hour and a half. Just sat there with each other and didn't say much. Just looked at this little kind of enjoyed the moment. Yeah, lived in that moment.
Awesome.
And then we like ate some like culture food that's there and stuff. Like we did some stuff within the city, our own city, and we still made it be like a traveling situation.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's because it was new and it was exotic, and you guys were doing something out of the box.
I've been to the Forks 150 times. This is the first time I decided to actually experience it.
Awesome. Yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna go like downtown and just hang out with the bums for a little while. Just be like, I'm traveling.
The urine in this side smells way better than the urine on that side.
The last thing, and you kind of brought it out when you said it, and so did you, was gives you a sense of accomplishment. That's kind of the synopsis of it all. Yeah,
I felt like I accomplished something, even though I just took a bus for a while.
Yeah, it's a story for you to tell. It's right. It's like that's a memorable moment in your lifetime, and you get that sense of accomplishment, even if it's going to Saskatchewan, even if it's going to Europe, or even if it's going to the Forks. You can take something out of traveling, and I would advise it to anyone. And I really encourage it because it's the best way to self-discovery, and it's going to make you a better person at the end of the day. And there's no better way to invest than to invest in yourself.
Very nice.
True.
My parents went on a cruise ship, and they talk about that
all the time.
Like it was the best, happiest moment of their life. And I'm like, Mom, you have 2 kids. We were both.
What about me?
And they're like, shut up, go home.
That's very insulting. Yeah.
Honestly, though, I absolutely agree with you. I think that's fantastic. I love the thought. And you got me more, Jack, to go on my trip that I'm going real soon.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, you nailed that. I can't wait to go on our trip.
Awesome.
Aaron, bring us down.
Hey, that's offensive. That's pretty.
Offended.
I'm just kidding. Well, what's your topic today?
Pretty good assumption. Well, it ties in a little bit, kind of, and I may get a little inspired because this is very near and dear to me, and that is drugs and psychedelic medicines.
Interesting. I bet this is great. Okay, I like this. I have some experience in this, so
I'm opening myself up to a lot of judgment because I've been informed here that some of our managers may, in fact, listen to this. But this is very...
Could be doing it with 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are sitting here with 2 of them right now.
Well, you guys know me pretty well. All right. Well, I think that there is a very good place in society for certain drugs. And I think that has been for a long way. I don't really know how to start off this topic.
Take a hit of acid.
Yeah.
That will start you out.
It takes an hour to kick in. But I know I've been around the block a couple times, but I'm not... I wouldn't classify myself as the average drug user.
Let me just
in any
start by
sort of
saying,
way.
too, like, I know you said, like, I know my managers are listening to this, I don't know what I should say about it. I think that, like, I'm very open-minded to the whole idea. I don't think that anyone should be judging anyone for doing, if you want to take something that's going to take you on your own spiritual journey, and will we consider that as a drug, and if that offends some people, I think that's ridiculous, because
you're listening
those
to the
people
wrong
are probably
podcast,
drinking.
is what I'm saying.
Well, those people are probably drinking coffee and are probably taking Advil at nighttime for their headaches.
Agreed.
That's
So
very
if-
important.
That's a drug on its own, and it's just because we have been cultured and society has told us that these drugs are okay to take, and we make coffee out of them and we do things like that. It doesn't make it one better than the other, and especially when it comes to psychedelics, and I'm sure you're going to talk about weed a bit and stuff. I think a lot of that is like you're not harming anyone, and it's only you that's in control of yourself. It's not like you're gonna go out and harm someone when you're on an acid trip. It's you on your own journey, and if you want to decide to do that, I'm so for it, and I don't think that anyone should be judging you or anyone for doing things like that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. You couldn't have put it any better. Aaron, on here, you're yourself, so speak your mind and don't worry about being judged.
Awesome. I'm high on meth.
Judge now.
Just kidding.
It's not harmful.
Podcast over.
We quit. Well, like I said, I'm not the average person. I prefer psychedelics. I don't do them a lot, and I've always been this way. I don't just go out and someone offers me a drug. Hey, what's this? I'll take that. Every drug I've ever done, I have researched beforehand, learn what it's going to do to you physically and what the trip is going to be like, and precautions that you should take.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In my later years, I've become more into that. It's all about safe drug consumption, which I find is very important.
100%. Yeah.
There are kits that you can buy. They're called reagents. You may have seen them on, like, if you've ever seen an episode of Cops, where they find something that looks like drugs, and they put it in a plastic baggie, and it turns a certain color.
Mm.
Those are called reagents. Those are to determine if the drug you think you have is the actual drug you have. There's really
like
good...
find out if it's laced.
Because cocaine
Or
can end up with a
eventually.
lot of different things, and it depends on what they cut it with and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is mainly to check if it's... Well, let's say if you're buying LSD, you can check this to make sure it's not an N-bomb, which is 25 N-bombs. It's a certain class of drugs, which they're very, very toxic, and they're bad. You can overdose on them pretty easily, whereas LSD, you can't really overdose on.
So what's your favorite psychedelic,
That's a good
and why?
question.
Oh.
And tell me about one of your trips.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
The psychedelics aren't for everyone. I'm going to say that.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's two different classes. There's a psychedelic where you would take like for a fun time, and then there's a psychedelic you would take for a very introspective trip where you want to learn something. That's what I'm interested in.
Cool.
That's why I was amazed when I was able to acquire DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine. Well, if you've heard Joe Rogan's podcast, you know a little bit about it. But this is a drug that is released. It is created in your body, and they believe it's released when you're dreaming, and they have recently found evidence of it in your lungs. So people believe that when you do things such as holotropic breathing and meditation, and you start hallucinating,
It releases this
You
more?
get that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I've
what
never
they
heard
believe.
that before.
They also think that when you die and you have that incredible experience where you see whatever
Near-death
you see when you
experience or
die,
whatever.
yeah, they believe that is large amounts of DMT being released in your brain. There's lots of documents on this. There's lots of studies that have been done on this. Some people will argue with it. A lot of it has not been proven yet. We have found evidence
That's
in
a
it.
tough thing to prove.
Yeah, how do you
too,
prove
right?
the death thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
that specifically, like, nobody's been able to die and tell us about it.
We know for sure DMT is produced in your brain, and they believe it's produced in your pineal gland, which
Your third
relates, is your third eye, which actually has a retina, a lens on it.
They use that in a lot of Egyptian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like... that.
What do you call that?
Hieroglyphics and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hieroglyphics. Yeah,
It's that weird looking eye thing.
Yeah, you
It's
see it in
talked
the
about in many
Illuminati. It's like
religions.
it's a symbol in a lot of different things. Actually, like I mean, not
Yeah.
even spiritually. It's in lots of different things. You see that third eye thing.
Now, DMT is wonderful. I'm going to get into the trip a little bit later. I have to explain it a little bit more. There is smokable DMT, which is the extract of DMT. That is N,N-dimethyltryptamine. That is an extract where you can put it in you usually vaporize it, and you get a really instant trip. And then there is something called ayahuasca. You may have heard of this. There are ceremonies in usually Peru, Bolivia, places in South America, where people go and they drink ayahuasca brew with shamans in a group, and they experience life-changing things.
I've seen that in a lot of different like shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the only experience I have with that, like visually.
One of the drugs they use is ayahuasca. Another one they use is ibogaine, or iboga, which they found is... Well, all of these are incredibly helpful for people with massive addictions or massive trauma.
I have a simple question. It's going to seem dumb because I don't really know this stuff. Is this a natural occurring drug, or is this a
Yes.
chemically induced drug? Natural?
This is naturally occurring.
Okay.
They've been doing it for thousands of years, and it's actually quite amazing how they do it.
They drink it, though, the ayahuasca.
The ayahuasca brew, yes. Let me explain ayahuasca. DMT is found in all sorts of plants, all sorts of animals. I guarantee you, if you go around, examine enough grass, if you have precise enough elements, you will find DMT, or precise enough measuring devices. The reason you don't trip out when you eat it is because we have something in our gut called MAOs, which are monoamino acids, basically. I believe that's what it's called. So that neutralizes it so DMT is not orally active. So if you pair DMT with MMAOIs, which are monoamino acid inhibitors, which is it's a drug. Some people take it as an antidepressant, but they're also found naturally in the wild. So what ayahuasca is it's a plant that has DMT in it and MAOI inhibitor. So you mix it together, and the DMT is orally active. Now they somehow find the combination of plants to do this. When I say they, I mean like the shamans who have been doing this for a long time. They say the plants told them how to do it.
Which probably evolved from maybe a trip of some sort, maybe a eating of...
It had to have been something, right?
Now, DMT can be traced back to a lot of things, but the acacia bush, has large forms of DMT, or large amounts of DMT, and some people believe in the Bible...
That's like the religious tree, right?
The burning bush.
That's what
Right,
that's what
right.
I was going to say. I've
Yeah.
heard something about the burning bush with this.
I'm not all up to date on my Bible stuff, so I don't remember who talked to the burning bush. It might have been Joseph, might have been some other guy. I might have pulled that out of my ass. Doesn't matter.
There was a burning bush, damn it.
Yeah. He had a hallucination, or what we perceive as a hallucination, of seeing God and talking to God. Some people believe that was because he was burning the acacia plant and inhaled some of the fumes.
Right, yeah.
Which would be a DMT trip.
Right.
Now, DMT, when you smoke it, is out of this world. It's not like any other psychedelic experience.
How long does it take for the trip to activate if you smoke it?
DMT?
Yeah.
Instantly.
How long does it last?
Maximum the trip about 15. You'll be back to normal in good half an hour.
Oh, okay.
That's actually a reasonable small amount. I was expecting a lot longer.
You probably
The trip for
feel
something
like
that's
you're in the
heavy.
trip longer than that, though, right?
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, when you do drugs like mushrooms or LSD, you see a lot of fractals. You see stuff like that, but you're need of what's going on. That you're a person seeing a trip.
Can I say a quick story? Because I had a friend who I don't need to say his name, but he was having a lot of it. He had a lot of drug issues. He was like a wreck. Like he dropped out of school. Like this guy was like basically like the lowest of the low. Like he was about to like give up on life. Like
Heavy drugs.
Heavy drugs. He went on. He never did hallucinants before. He never did psychedelics, and he did an acid trip. I remember one time, and he told me after his acid trip, it was like one day it just clicked. Like, he got this giant, he went to the tattoo shop the next day, he came to work with this giant Buddha tattooed on his back, and the guy was a changed man. Like, he was completely, he went back to school, he got his doctorate, like, he completely changed around, like, it was like a 180, and like, after, like, we taught, like, because we knew something changed right away, and he said, you know, and it's hard for someone to open up about their trip, especially when they know they're low, and he said, like, it was, you know, I saw this Buddha, and he told me this is the, you know, to pick myself up, basically, and this is where I need to change in my life, and it was he finally saw what was possible in him, and he finally saw that it was, you know, it opened his eyes again, if that makes sense.
It sounds like a religious experience without the religion.
And he wasn't
very
religious,
much is.
and
It
he
very
wasn't
much
religious
is.
whatsoever. He didn't
It's
believe that it
spiritual.
was.
Anyone
it was spiritual. Let's use the word spiritual, but
Yeah.
he was not religious. But he ended up getting a tattoo. He saw a Buddha. He claimed to have saw a Buddha.
I've heard stories like this hundreds of times. Anyone who says psychedelics are just for fun is full of shit. There's a very big spiritual and introspective
Of
look
course.
at your own problems
Yeah.
part to it.
Of course, yeah.
Now back to DMT. When you smoke DMT, when you inhale it and you try and hold it in for as long as you can. Terence McKenna, which is famous ethnobotanist, author, I love the man. Speaks amazing. There's hundreds of hours of him speaking online.
About his trips and stuff, right?
About lots of stuff.
Okay.
This man was a visionary. He died in, I think, the 2000s. But he was talking in the 1990s about virtual reality and replicating your brain in a machine. And just crazy
We're
stuff.
like right on
Just
that path
way
right now
before
too.
his time.
Yeah, I love this guy. He also has a couple theories. You can hear his brother, Dennis McKenna, on Joe Rogan. He's on 2 episodes.
Yeah, I listened.
One in the 400s, one in the 200s. I don't know them off the top of my head. But, Terence McKenna is the best way of putting any sort of drug trip. The way to describe it. But when you smoke DMT, the moment it hits you is you're gone. You don't realize you're a human anymore.
Whoa.
For the first little bit, everything just starts to get lots of fractals, really intense, crazy, moving, changing shapes, and then it just goes on and on from there. A lot of people experience what Terence called the machinos, which are, even in clinical studies, they have shown that lots of people have seen what they call intelligent beings in this headspace of a DMT trip. People say they're incredibly friendly and they will try and teach you things.
Like gods, right? And stuff? Like
Yes.
gods in there. Yeah,
But
I've heard this too.
They say they
Friends.
speak in a language of visual things where
Yeah.
it's not sound.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Well, if you want to get really deep, there's like 4 or 5 different ones that people describe.
And like it's consistently these 5 that they talk about?
People who've done it lots, yeah.
I forget
will
the
say
gods'
these
names,
fives.
but I've seen like one of them's like that one girl with like a
Vishnu.
bunch of
The
I-
Vishnu?
People see Vishnu.
Oh,
there's-
Vishnu, that's an Abhishnu.
they have like statues of those and stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
oh, yeah.
Stuff,
It's-
If you Google DMT purple lady, you will see this lady. I have seen something like that in one of my trips. Like,
Would you say yourself as well experienced with this at this point, or very, very amateur?
it's very hard to say your experience with something like this because it will happen a lot, or it will be very different every time you do it.
Yeah.
But I have done a lot more than the average person, I would say. Like,
Well, doing it is more than the average person.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's-
Not a lot of people have done it. The potency of DMT is a dose is 50 milligrams, which I don't know how to describe that. A gram, 5 grams is a nickel. A nickel is about 5 grams. So if you imagine one of those grams, like a gram of weed, and then you cut that into 10 pieces, and then take one of those pieces and cut that in half, that's 50 milligrams. You smoke that, you will not know you're a human. You will see things you have never seen before, things you cannot comprehend.
For our viewers that are, whatever reason is like you're interested in doing this, some safety tips. Just a question. I know with some drugs you should have somebody with you. watching over you while you're high. Is this something that you would
Sitting.
suggest on this? Yeah,
I would recommend a sitter.
Okay.
For at least your first few times.
Yeah, okay, all right. I just wanted to get that out there just in case.
We're not promoting this.
We're just saying
sharing
if,
our view
if
and
this is
experience
making
on
you
it.
interested,
Yes.
please make sure you do it safely and listen to what
Test
he's
your
saying.
drugs. Buy a drug test kit.
Yeah.
Of course.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
What did you get out of it? What was like after year one where you saw something of a being?
Well, I'll get to
God.
that.
Okay.
So I've smoked close to a gram of it. Within yes, so that's a lot. That's a decent amount. But I've split
Thank
it.
you for breaking it down for me at least. It feels like you're
Yeah.
not middle ground. Like how much that really is.
All that explanation was just to be, I took a fuckload of it.
Yeah. Well, it's not just me. I've shown it to a couple friends. It's an incredible experience. I really think everyone should try it once.
Cool.
The first time I smoked it, once I started realizing and like coming back to person, the first thing that came to my mind is like, I'm a terrible person. Honestly, I said that to my friend. I called my friend, and he was like, "What is it like?" And I was like, I'm a terrible person. Like not like I've killed babies or something. Like I generally think I'm a pretty good person, but I just mean like there's ways I could handle my shit better.
Sure.
I have depression and a couple other mental problems, and I find it's really helped me deal with those. Along with you, you have helped quite a bit.
Oh, thanks.
And this is kind of like therapy for me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think we talked about this like individually a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel
Well, one thing about
different
podcasts
about the world.
and doing that's amazing. And one thing about doing podcasts too is like we were talking about, because we're on such a high and we're talking about such nice things right now, is that like how often do people now like put their phones away, put everything away, and sit down and have a conversation with a couple other people,
Not
and
enough.
just have and not pick up the phone, not be disturbed, not think about who's calling, but literally speak your thoughts like with a couple other people.
Like-minded individuals to a
Like
degree.
that
yeah.
never like that's so rare. I can't say that I really do it anymore.
I have an
and
answer
can't-
once a week. That's what
Yeah.
I get.
That's it now.
Right
Yeah.
now I'm getting it once a week, and,
Yeah.
and that once a week has done fucking wonders.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely put your phones away every once in a while.
And even if you have no interest in doing a podcast yourself, I highly recommend all our listeners find someone you can sit down and just talk about shit. Talk about crazy shit.
Yeah.
Ideas that you might not even believe. But
Open
just
and
want
honest.
to think about.
Yeah.
Just get
Open
it
your
out.
mind and
Yeah.
speak what's on your mind and say
You just got to find those right people that want to hear it, right?
You all got such creative minds. May as
Yeah.
well, bring them out.
So that is smoke DMT. Oh yeah, I should get back. You see crazy fractals, tessellations, and then at one point, it's very hard to remember what you saw. It's so out of this world that it's very hard to bring it back.
Yeah.
It fades very, very quickly.
Does it come back
Is
from
it
like
like a-
fractures to you?
Yeah.
Is it like a dream? Like, is that
very
how we
much
can
so.
compare it to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember vague states of some of the trips.
Okay.
One of the most memorable is I saw that purple lady,
yeah.
but she was more of a cat, and she was licking my third eye and producing intense, crazy fractals.
Whoa.
And it's just the aura of this entity was so pure and trying to. It was kind of like she was like, "Hey, let me show you these things. Look at all this cool stuff."
Yeah. Wow.
Now, that's smoke DMT. There's also oral DMT, which is ayahuasca, which is not as intense. It's not you might still believe you're human.
You at least got a conception of what you are?
I think you
Yeah.
feel really comfortable because you're around shamans who have done it a million times and have.
You are also puking.
Well, because
extensively.
you're yeah. Of course, it's feverish, right? You kind of get afterwards. You
During.
throw up.
Yeah,
Or during?
that's
Okay.
only from ayahuasca. They call it the purge, where you sometimes have
Yeah.
diarrhea even. But
I've heard a lot of people who've done the ayahuasca. Like,
Ayahuasca's
I've listened to it,
amazing.
and I've heard nothing but amazing feedback to it. No one's ever that I've heard of came out of, and I'm sure people have had some bad experiences, but I've never heard or listened to anyone say that they had a bad experience from ayahuasca, and they all seem to have some kind of revelation of some sorts.
I've never done ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is something I would
You just
only
said
do.
the farthest you've gotten is
Yeah.
you've gone to Peru yet.
I would only do it in a shamanistic place.
Yeah.
It's not something. It's not recreational at all.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
DMT
do it
is
in
not
your-
even
yeah.
recreational.
You're not going to do it
Yeah.
in your buddy's basement in a
Yeah,
fucking
no,
homemade
no.
coconut.
No.
It has amazing potential. And I think there's a lot more drugs out there. I hate to call them drugs, substances out there that are
We've labeled them as drugs, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to go by label, it's a drug. But I mean, let's face it. I think this is what we're trying to break down those barriers, right?
People just need to be very open-minded, right? And not just be set in the ways that you're set in.
Let's look at some of the drugs. Let's look at ecstasy, for example. You might have heard of ecstasy. The kids these days, they call it Molly, which half the time isn't even ecstasy. There was this documentary sponsored by Dance Safe, which is a group that promotes safe consumption, safe drugs. And they went to a bunch of raves, and they offered free testing for people's drugs. The stats were about 60% of the people who thought they had ecstasy actually had bath salts.
Whoa.
Ooh, that's fucked.
Like, you need to test your shit.
Wow.
Especially with fentanyl these days.
Street chemists, right? They fucking... It's about money to a lot of people.
For some people.
It's not the people taking it, but the people using it.
Yeah.
My question, previous to the DMT, were you personally scared using it your first time?
Incredibly.
So what did you do to get over that fear?
Advice from Terrence McKenna. The only thing you can do is you have to, before you take it, is you have to almost meditate and calm yourself down and realize that this is just a trip. It can't harm you. You need to be prepared. You cannot fight it. With any psychedelic trip, you have to let it happen.
And on that note, like, I have very little for psychedelic experience. I got some, but not a lot. I took shrooms. That was like a thing that I've done a couple times, and I can like contest to exactly what you're saying, because the first couple times it was a really like mind bending cool thing. It wasn't like everybody says, like when people like tell you about shrooms, like it's so trippy, all this shit happened. Nothing really happened. You know what mostly happened is like things kind of got a little wavy around me. Things, like some things kind of bled into other things. Like when I'm watching TV or something, it kind of bled into like the surrounding backgrounds of it. But about the third time I did it, and this is why I stopped, I was like fighting it the whole way. And I sat there in a blanket shivering for like probably 3-4 hours. I went upstairs to grab water. I passed out on the ground, woke up my dad kicking me. I was younger. My dad kicking me, being like, "Did you take something?" I'm like, "No, I'm just tired." And I grabbed the water and I went downstairs.
Oh, yeah. Logical.
Logical thing. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sure I believe that."
Yeah.
But, so that was like my bad shroom trip, and I haven't touched it since because of it. It really scared me. So I was kind of curious what you did to really get over that hump and fear of trying something like DMT.
I mean, there's an anxiety present with almost any new experience you're going to do, especially when it comes to drugs. I still get massive anxiety when I think about smoking DMT. But yeah, the real thing, the only thing you can do is just let it go, let it happen. If you're doing everything right. Another thing is set and setting. You'll always want to be with people you are comfortable around, people you can share
energy.
secrets with. Yeah. If it's someone you're even slightly hesitant about or something, it's just not good. You need to be in a good, safe place. Now, when you're smoking DMT, you're just gonna fucking just lay down and go. You don't know, so you kind of just need to be on a bed and have someone watch you.
Now, have you watched somebody that's taken it before?
Yes.
How was that experience, being on the opposite end, watching the person taking it?
The way they're kind of fully out and experiencing it is you watch their eyelids.
Oh yeah.
Because you close your eyes and you kind of you're not sleeping, you're just dreaming, kind of.
It's like the sporadic eye movement that you get when you're dreaming?
You will see that. It's REM. You will see that in someone who is tripping on DMT, like in a good gone out in the universe. And you will notice that.
From what you're saying from DMT is what I've always heard people talk about opium when they take opium as a mind-bending experience, except it's like a sleeping experience.
That's very different.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same. This is just from what you're describing, from what I've heard. I've never done opiates. It's not something I'm interested in trying, but I've always heard that.
Opium is a sedative, so that's really going to put you out. You're going to feel a lot of euphoria. You're going to feel good and like you're floating on a cloud. DMT, you're going to see insane shit. It's not like you feel like you're going to fall back. Well, you probably will, but it's not like you feel like you're just going to pass out.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's very different.
So it becomes more of an aware experience versus like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's good to know the difference.
A couple other things I would like to touch on is there's lots of good resources out there. There is Dance Safe. They're a good place. They're where you can buy reagents. There's the MAPS Foundation, which they are currently trying to get testing done. Well, they've done some testing. They're in their second round clinical trials for MDMA assisted therapy, and they're doing ketamine therapy. The thing about MDMA that people don't know is it was
Happy pill, right?
Yeah, it was a drug that was used in usually psychiatric offices where they would need to talk to someone about a traumatic experience. Most people associate MDMA with just making you really happy, really euphoric, you want to dance, you might be a little pumped up, a little stimulated. That's true, but it can also make you go back on an experience you had, let's say a traumatic event, and see it sort of from a different view and not have the emotions associated with it.
Almost like a third-person perspective?
Yeah. Whereas someone with post-traumatic stress, when they go back to that event, things are going to trigger them to get stressed out and not want to think about it.
This might be a little deep on this, but you always hear people that almost die. They get an outer body experience from it. They almost like they're watching themselves die. Do you think maybe that is from that chemical being produced in their body that gives them that
the DMT release?
Yeah, that gives them like that
that's
outer
a
body experience.
valid opinion. Lots of people believe that.
Okay, all right. That just came to my head, so
It's a
I'm
rush of
sure
DMT.
thousands of people have thought of that. But it just is like the first thing I thought of. Like I always hear that when people say they like had near-death experiences. I was like, it was euphoric. I was outside of my body, and most of them come back. I completely changed a person.
And people say they speak to entities.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
And there's a blinding light and a blinding noise, which are both associated with DMT.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think MDMA-assisted therapy is huge. MAPS is doing great work. There's also ketamine therapy, which is for depression and post-traumatic stress as well.
One drug at a time.
Ketamine is slightly different. It's a sedative, but it's kind of a little bit of a hallucinogen in the right doses. Ketamine has been used for years in anesthesia. We still use it to this day. In the dose they give you in the hospital is just going to sedate you and put you out. If you do smaller amounts of that dose, it can have crazy dissociative effects where you feel like the hand you're seeing isn't your hand. Sometimes you get out-of-body experiences.
When I think of that too, is like salvia is like another one that probably shouldn't ever be smoked. I don't think it was meant to be smoked, right?
Salvia.
But I've heard people go on salvia trips where it's like, I know it's a short. I've watched someone do a salvia trip, and I know it's like a short duration of time, and they feel like they're imprisoned forever in this trip, and it's only been like 2 minutes, and they've had these weird experiences. And is that what's making that trip? Is it a release of some sort, or of DMT, or is it?
Salvia is very different.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so salvia, the proper name for the plant is Salvia dinivorium. Some translations translate it to the diviner's mint. Now, what we do with that is we extract that into pure form, and it's sold in different potencies. It's a very different drug from typical psychedelics, because when they found it, most psychedelics are alkaline, I believe. They work on a certain like chemical property.
Alkaline level?
Yeah, and this is completely different. This is almost like opiates, but it's not. Really.
So
when they found it, they did not think it was psychedelic at all.
This was a more recent find too, right? Salvia, like it was something like how.
Well, they used to sell it in like
extracting
tobacco stores.
That's what I thought too. So like what would you say in the past 50
used
years?
in religious experiences.
Oh, okay.
It's been around for a long time, but the extract that is relatively new.
Okay, all right. I just think this salvia is something that I've heard more of. Like I'm going to say the first time it crossed my path was around like 98, 99, somewhere around there is when I first started hearing about it. And you're like, oh, you can just go to the hemp shop and pick some up if you want. Like it's illegal for you to buy this if you want to.
Again, that's a really intense drug. That's it could be dangerous.
That can't be good for you.
I couldn't imagine. No.
It's.
That's when I asked.
There hasn't been a lot of like evidence showing it's bad for you.
That was when I asked about a sitter, like having somebody there with you. That's where I heard about it first.
Yeah.
Was through salvia.
Well,
like you should have
extremely
somebody
important.
watching you. Yeah.
Salvia is very weird. It's one of the only drugs that you could really compare to like DMT.
I know this might be going off topic, and I know we're going into another drug, but I always heard a lot about flakka. How close is that related to what we're dealing with?
Flakka, I believe, is 4-ABVT, which these are called research chemicals. These are drugs that are made. There's a wonderful chemist named Sasha Shulgin, another man I love. He created drugs like 2CB, 2CI, a bunch of these wonderful psychedelics. This is a drug that's basically made in like laboratories in China. The flakka, this is more like bath salts. Flakka and I guess they're closely related. But the thing with these is they're sold legally. There's some gas stations that will sell them to you as legal alternative highs.
Wow.
Jesus.
The thing with this is they will have one chemical that China just makes, mass produces, sends it out here. Enough things will happen, people will be like, hey, we need to ban this chemical. They'll send it back to China. They'll change one atom of it, make it slightly different, and sell it back. There's no testing done on these drugs.
Wow. So, like, all these different
Don't
names...
do those.
All these different names that we're
basalt
hearing
bad.
of it is basically a reiteration of the one bad thing that it started out with. It just constantly gets a new name every time it comes out.
They just change it.
And that's what flakka was.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've just always been curious about it because it hit the news pretty recently with that one guy that got shot on the freeway there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was just kind of curious where that sat and everything. I didn't think it was natural in any way, shape, or form, but I was kind of curious.
There are things, research chemicals, there are ones that you could order, if you, hypothetically, you could order them to your house. You kind of need like a permit to do it, but you could get stuff like 4-ACO DMT, which is very close to DMT, but it's orally active. When you take it, it kind of breaks down into cyclobin, cyclobin, which is magic mushrooms. So
Okay.
it kind of breaks down into that. So it's very similar to that.
Okay, so it's like not the real effect, but like kind of like
There's also a I believe that's how it's called, a Tylosam, a Tazolam or something. It's basically Xanax, but you can buy legal amounts and large amounts of it.
oh wow. So it's
They're not supposed to be used on humans,
okay.
but they are.
Of course.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, we've been talking about 2CB, 2CI, DMT. Time to talk about HMV.
Nice.
My favorite drug of them all.
Okay, so my topic is it's a little bit more lighthearted. It's not going to be a very long topic, but I had mentioned at the beginning that it was kind of a bittersweet week for me. I went to HMV and I picked out the last, and seriously the last. There's nothing in that fucking store anymore.
I know.
Last things that I'm ever going to buy.
Well,
from
they had a
there.
sale. Well, they
60% is what I
Clear
read.
out sale, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was
buy our shit.
get rid of it all because we can't fucking keep it because they went out of business. So I walked in, I bought a couple movies, and I kind of walked out a little disappointed. But then I think about my first time walking in there, and it was like I want to say a euphoric experience. It really was. It sounds dumb, but
Yeah.
I'm a huge music guy. I've always loved music, and ever since I was a kid. And I went in there, and this is how I discovered.
Just counting the
How many
guitars.
guitars are hanging
There's
up here?
5 hanging around.
Not to
here.
mention the posters,
Yeah,
and
Pink
records
Floyd
on the
posters,
wall. Yeah.
He's a little into me.
I kind of like music, but it was a euphoric experience, and I'm gonna talk about my first experience in HMV because we didn't have one where I grew up. We had some things that were like music stores, but it wasn't an HMV. I walked into HMV. This was my first little bit of money that I had on my own. I saved it up myself. I was doing little pissant jobs to get it, and I started looking around. I'm like, okay, what the fuck am I gonna buy? I already had all the Green Day records. I was a big Green Day fan. My parents have been buying.
First
it for
concert
me.
I ever went to.
Green Day was your
Yep.
first? Okay, that was like my fifth.
I not on your level though.
No, I was Kim Mitchell was my first.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Kim Mitchell. It was a free concert, but so I walked in, started looking around, and I'm like, I have every Green Day record. There's like I mentioned, there's a couple in there that I was like, it's kind of rare, but I have all these songs on different compilations. So I'm not gonna grab that. Started looking around, and then I discovered Collective Soul. I didn't know much about them.
Man, I remember that.
Shine just came out this week.
Yeah.
That was that album. First week that it had come out, and it was still on. What's up?
I believe it's the anniversary of that.
Is
It might be. Yeah, you might be.
I saw
right.
something on Reddit about it today.
It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
But I walked in and I was kind of into like more heavier music and stuff, and I didn't really I was very narrow minded. I grew up in a punk, like my brother was into
Right,
punk.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he love Fugazi and stuff, and I had some Fugazi. I'm going to talk about my first time later, but this was going in there. So I walked in and I saw this red cover with this like cartoony looking thing on the front with a big loud mouth, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I pick up the headphones that they like 1,000 people have fucking touched, and now that I think about it, it's kind of gross.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Of course.
Pushed the fucking button, and I started playing, and I like dun, 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 dun. I'm like, oh shit, this sounds pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
I like this. All right, I'm gonna give this a shot. I listened to 30 seconds. I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot. So I bring it home, pop it in, and I fucking couldn't stop listening to it for like a year. Nonstop. Best probably, I think at the time was like $21. It was pretty expensive for CDs back then, because tapes were still around. And I just sat there listening to it the whole fucking time, and it was so euphoric for me. You know, this was a really big thing.
Remember when everyone thought CDs weren't going to last?
Oh yeah, no, that was a big thing.
As soon as they came out, like DVDs came out, everyone's like, no,
don't
get them, don't buy them, because they're going to be gone.
Waste of time. Yeah, records fucking didn't last forever. Look at this. Now we're getting CDs. It's going to be something else in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, people are still using records.
Yeah, it's gone back. It's gone full circle on.
Have you listened to a CD recently?
I
Garbage sound quality.
Yeah, it's not very.
Oh
good.
yeah.
No, I cannot.
They're so fast,
No.
reproduced very, very quickly, and not a very good. Like the compression, it's just terrible. I buy records. I've been buying a lot of new records.
I don't even like MP3s.
Oh yeah, MP3s are still like they're getting bad. Like it's just not as good as it used to be.
The whole file format is bad. There's uncompressed file formats like FLAC.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So much better. There's a new thing coming. Well, it's not out. It's been out. I don't think it's going to take, but it's kind of like a memory card thing that you can get. I've only seen a couple of them throughout the years, and it's mostly in Europe that I've seen them. But it looks like almost like a fucking Switch game, like the size of a Switch game that you can plug it in. I wish I remembered the name of it, but I can't remember. But it's supposed to have the purest, nicest sound you can get.
Oh, cool.
And I've only seen a couple of them. But for now, records is what I've been going with.
Yeah.
But I had that euphoric sound, and I've got a couple like leads that I'm going with this. One question that we're gonna end on with it is going to be, do we think this is done now that all this stuff is finally closing down? And I don't mean finally in a good way, but my question first to you guys, I want to know, because this puts goosebumps on my back, what was your most memorable purchase, whether it's music, whether it's DVD, whether it's going to a Blockbuster and fucking renting a movie? What was the thing that caught you the most? And try and describe it. You know, I would like to be what you spent your own money on, but if you can't, the first thing you're thinking of is like, well, my mom bought me this, but I picked it up myself. Fucking tell me what it is. I don't care what it is.
I remember, like, when you talk, because you were talking about, like, CDs, and we were talking about DVDs and stuff, the very first and euphoric moment for me was, I remember there was St. B Video. Do you remember St. B Video? It was like the shitty video store. Like it was, but like video stores.
I think it's still open.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's definitely not. It's definitely not.
It was there was like a King Video is what it turned into.
Yes,
St. Video. Yeah, that one. It's no longer around. It just closed recently.
It was a pretty big video store, but I remember as a kid, it was like Sunday nights. My mom, like that was like our present of the week, was that we were able to go rent a movie. And like I remember like walking to that video store, and it was something about like driving there. And then, like, it was an experience, like, renting a movie. Like, it wasn't, like, discussing. It was, like, you got to see what was on the top 10 list, the new releases, the kids' movies, the 10 movies, 10 days, $10. And
you show up on a Saturday night, you're not getting those new fucking releases.
They're
out. You're fucking out. You're going over to the comedy section looking for some...
Exactly.
Looks like it's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles again.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
I remember it was Sunday nights, and we bust in there, and it was, like, I think it was that day they had something like 5 movies, 5 days, $5 or something.
I had one of those in my neighborhood,
talking about?
Yeah, mine was 10 movies, 10 days.
So it was like, blitz out. So my twin sister, she would pick 2 movies, I would pick 2 movies, and we'd have to, like, decide on the fifth movie together. And that was an experience of its own. It was going to, like, these movie stores and rent, like, movie stores are... That was like one of the funnest times I ever had as a kid, right? Like it was going to the movie store and picking out movies.
It was just as good as going to the fucking theater.
Yeah,
like, it was
totally.
Yeah, it's almost the same euphoric experience of being like, oh, let's pick the shit out, we get to bring it home. I don't think we get the same investment anymore.
No, you just hit a button on a remote.
I was saying this earlier.
You can see whatever you want whenever you want.
We spend more time now looking at what we're not going to watch than what we're actually watching.
Definitely. It takes me an hour to find a documentary I want to watch.
Oh, totally. And you got to watch like 30 previews before and everything.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have that. It was like you had to just look at the back of the movie case.
Yeah, just hope the person before you were wound before the end of the movie. So
otherwise you're recording them and they're paying that $1 late.
Motherfucker.
$10 fee or whatever it was. Yeah. Motherfucker.
So you went to this store. Do you remember like what your movies were?
Like I remember for sure, Ren and Stimpy was like one of my favorite cartoons that I would, because they'd have, because you could also get
The
TV
collections,
shows,
right?
The collections.
Yeah,
they
like
had
7 episodes on one VHS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would do Ren and Stimpy. I know was a huge one, like Dexter's Laboratory. You know what I
Sweet.
mean? All those weird kind of Laboratory. So those were pretty cool. But like, yeah, I mean, like it can go on forever. Like I love movies too, and the movie store was there was something about going in there and like having to just like, because you wouldn't rent repeat movies a lot of the time. It was like there was so many options.
Well, that being said, I rented Friday, like the fucking Ice Cube movie. I swear to fuck, 100 times in 1 year.
I watched Top Gun probably 300 times one time.
Unbelievable. Yeah, like,
so yeah,
hanging with the boys.
For me, it was Liar Liar.
Oh, Liar Liar.
Oh, yeah.
I had that on VHS, I think.
Oh,
that was a sweet movie.
That was great.
I still have that movie on VHS.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
sure.
I probably got it on sub. My VHSs are put away by this point, but shit, I'm certain I
Jim
had
Carrey
that.
was awesome.
That was like at his
Yeah.
peak.
Yeah,
you know,
just
when-
after SNL.
He was
right?
a
When he
crazy
started
old
doing it.
man.
Well, he was on
seen
he
him
Live in
before?
Color. In Live in
Live in
Color.
Color, yeah.
Not SNL.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at that point, what I feel like is that we don't have that same sort of sense. You know, we don't walk into a place, invest time, because whether you say it or not, time is an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So you invest time trying to pick something out, and then you invest a little bit of money. You're gonna watch. I don't care if it's a fucking shit movie.
It's more rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get that fucking shitty movie, you're gonna watch the whole goddamn
Oh,
thing. I watched April Fools. That thing was fucking terrible. I watched to the end of the fucking credits. It was done. I'm like, all right, I
Waiting for
got my
something
money.
good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Turn it off and I bring it back.
I remember that more, not so much with movies, with renting video games from like Blockbuster.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, like really young, there was this place called like Pick a Flick or some shit, some small like mom and pop, and we would go and rent like N64 games, and that was the shit.
Well, the sweet part too when you rented video games is like, because a lot of games like you can like, for me anyways, like you can beat it in like 20 hours or whatever, which is like nothing when you're a kid.
Back
you just
then,
gotta,
yeah.
Which is nothing. So like you can just play this game out and then you'd be done with it. Like there was no online, right? You wouldn't fight like play with your friends online. It was like you beat the story mode and then you return the game.
Oh my
and that
God.
was like,
I'm gonna date myself pretty heavy here. What system are you talking about right now?
well, I was talking about Super Nintendo.
Okay, so
I was going N64.
N64, Super Nintendo. I was NES, and I mean like the beginning of
Okay,
NES.
you're
okay?
old.
Could you even rent games at that?
Yes,
point?
you could. There was a place in North Bay called Raleigh's Video. Fucking asshole. Did you even rent back then?
I don't know.
Is that a thing? Just renting a real thing back then. I rented
How did they make money on video
NES
games?
I rented NES games when I was a kid. And like one of my favorite ones, and it's one of the worst fucking NES games, is Friday the 13th. It's fucking shit. It's garbage. This game is bad. I fucking love it. I literally own 14 copies of it. Like every time I find it, I buy it because it's.
Jesus.
I've rented it so many times. I know it's a bad game, but it's that nostalgia fit. I used to sit in my basement. We used to have. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these things. It's like a wicker fucking bowl chair.
I
Like
used
a
to
wicker
have one.
basket.
Yeah,
with the big thing.
Yeah.
I would sit in that fucking thing all day, and we had this TV. It was like one of the old wood box
Yeah, I
TVs.
used to have one of those.
Yeah, where you have to like click like this
Yeah.
to change the
Oh, yeah,
channel.
yeah.
So we turn it on, and it would like show the
Yeah.
screen for a second. We're like, yeah, and then it would click off, and like, fuck. So we grab the bat, and we're like, tunk on the side of the TV, and it comes back
Work
on again.
again.
Yeah.
All right, there we go, good to
That
go.
was tech support in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Worked great, but I would rent it all the
Back
time.
to the TV.
I'd turn the lights off, and this is, keep in mind, this is like 7-year-old me, 8-year-old me, and I'd play fucking this camp game where Jason's trying to come after me and kill. It scared the
Terrifying.
shit out of me.
Yeah,
Holy
terrifying.
fuck, did it scare
Remember
me.
Resident Evil first came out?
Ooh,
I was like,
that was fucking
terrifying. when I started watching
I
it.
remember those.
So, like, that was my rental, and, like, we're never going to be able to give our kids that.
Mm-hmm.
How fucking sad is that you're not going to be able to give that to your kid?
Yeah.
You're not
Well,
going to be
I
able
think
to do
another-
that.
They're
Well,
going to
you-
have something else. They're going to be like, oh, well,
Yeah,
I'll put
they're-
on my VR goggles.
Yeah, but you're not going to have the same thing where you go to a store, pick something out.
Maybe they don't need the same thing. Maybe we're just being old and cynical like I am at work every
Maybe.
day.
That's possible. Maybe the evolution is where it needs to go, and I'm not disagreeing with that.
But I know
that
the
these are
experience you're talking about, and
Yeah.
I know exactly like the feeling that you get when that
Yeah,
happens.
it's
and I
something-
also feel like you're giving more justice to the people that created that game and who created the movie for you to like go out again, pick out their movie, bring it home with you instead of being like, I need something to fall asleep to. What the fuck's on
Netflix.
Netflix? Yeah,
Boom,
exactly. If I
Netflix
fall
it up.
asleep to this, whatever. You know
Who
what I mean? It
cares?
was like-
You paid the $10.
but like for you to like
Yeah.
get in your vehicle, drive down, yeah, like Totally, I know what you mean.
I really
I know
miss
what
that as an experience, and I don't think our the newer generation of people are going to be able to experience that because they have phones that can literally play everything that Blockbuster ever had in their entire goddamn sections on their phone. And not that I'm complaining about the phone, because like I like having that like Netflix thing. That is kind of cool to be able to just pop this stuff on. But I mean, you can clearly see I like physical media. I like owning the thing.
Oh,
and I love owning this because one day. With Netflix, it's not going to be on there. It's going to go on to something else.
You know what I think of you as? Have you ever seen the South Park episode where Randy invests in a Blockbuster? That's you. Yeah. That's gonna be.
Do you want chicken nuggets?
Exactly.
Sweet and sour sauce. That is me, though. It's true, and it sucks that this is happening, and it just really brought on a lot of like feelings to me when I walked out of.
Well, the cool thing I think the biggest thing that you're missing in all that is like that sense of community as well. That there was a lot of other people like you that like movies, and then you would meet people at video stores, and like you would have conversations about movies with strangers.
What's that movie about? It's like, I saw it last week.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I rented that yesterday. This is the movie. That was what made part of the experience.
Oh yeah,
right.
And
it's
like
like-minded people. We're all conglomerated together, and we're able to actually talk to each other about what you were going to grab or what. It was an experience, right? It created an experience because of that. You were like-minded people gathering together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
But what about, let's go back to record stores.
Ooh, we got to, okay, let's go with records. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah,
It's happening.
Bring it on.
Mind you, I've only seen a record, never heard one.
We'll fix that today. We'll fix it today.
In ancient lore. No, I've heard records. But like back in the day, I believe, I'm talking out of my ass because it's way too young for this, but people would like go to a record store and be like, hey, is this good? What's the new record, Johnny Hip Boy? Everyone's spoke in the 20s. I don't know. I don't know what happened in the
20s.
The 20s.
Back when vinyl was really vinyl.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what happened in the past.
Okay, well, there was like the same sort of deal when you walked into record, and it's still there. Like if you go, like I'm going to be taking you out to some record shopping. I'm going to show you some places that still exists. There's a place in the Exchange District called Into the Music. This store is hard to get to. It's hard to park down there. But when you walk in, it's fucking records wall to wall everywhere. And the owner, you'll bring something up, and he'll be like, "Oh, I can't believe somebody bought this." And because he knows every record that's in that store, he'll sit there and fucking talk to you about it a little bit.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, "Hey, man,
it's an experience."
I was looking for a Hawkwind record when I walked in. I don't know if you know who Hawkwind is. You know who Lemmy is?
No.
Motorhead.
Really?
Yes. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yes.
Lemmy's
yes.
gone.
Sorry,
Lemmy's
yes,
gone.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
this is his band before Lemmy. It's called Hawkwind.
Okay.
Fucking psychedelic. Holy fuck. You need to see. I need to show you this. But I was like, hey, do you have the Hawkwind with Silver Machine, which is a song that he did. He was only on like two albums, I think, before they kicked him out because everybody. It's kind of funny. Everybody in that band was psychedelic, except for Lemmy, that was really into speed.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. Get the fuck out, Lemmy. So Lemmy went and did Motorhead, which was a really fast metal band.
Yeah.
Basically started the whole thrash metal, you know? But anyway, I was like, do you have this? He's like, oh yeah, we gotta have that. So he goes over to the Hawkwind section. He's like, how do we not have that one fucking album? I got every fucking Hawkwind album, not that one that should be here. So he goes and he fucking ordered it for me.
Wow, cool.
And that's one of those kind of experiences you don't fucking get with fucking iTunes and stuff. We love you, iTunes. Thank you very much for they're getting us on there. But you don't get that shit.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get that type of thing anymore.
That's
and
true.
I think it's a shame that that's not going to be there because it's that interactive experience that you're talking about.
Well, it's like if it's like someone going to the gym to play basketball. It's like other people are going to the gym to play basketball. There's that same thing you're talking about. It's like going to a record shop with other people who like records and love music. You're meeting at this one place, right?
It's where you're always going to find that person.
You're always going to find that person, and you're always going to have that weird, random, good conversation.
Yeah,
See, I've almost always exclusively not bought physical media.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, you were very clear about that.
We know that. All right.
I
bought digital stuff either.
Well, I do now.
Okay,
I have a lot of Steam games.
You have no idea how proud I was of you when you came and you're like, I bought Grand Theft. What was it? I can't
Battlefield.
remember. It was Battlefield or something. Like, I
Theft
paid for Battlefield.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Good for you.
I like to pirate. Okay.
So you don't have this physical aspect.
I've bought maybe 5 CDs in my life. Never bought a movie.
You almost get an attachment to them. Like, I mean, I have my Linkin Park CD case that I still use to this day because I have like this weird attachment.
See,
to
to
it.
me,
You know what I
Do
mean?
you
That
have
was
the
my
CD
first
still,
one.
or is it just
I have the Torah. I think it was
in
the
good
Torah
condition, or
was
is it
one
like
I
all
had.
fucked up? Because
It's fucked up, of course. Yeah, you jammed them all together, and the cases weren't very good.
Like, oh, it's in the car. I'll listen to this later.
Yeah,
and throw it
exactly.
back.
Throw in the side thing.
Find it underneath your fucking mat later.
Yeah,
like, oh, I have my
exactly.
fucking Linkin
God,
Park.
I love this CD.
I can listen to 2 songs on this now.
A year later, yeah,
See,
exactly.
the equivalent to that for me is buying a game on Steam when it's super cheap, and then just like having it in my list so I can just scroll through my
But
list.
then it's just
and
like
be
a digital label on
yeah,
the list.
that I'm probably never gonna play. But that is my achievement.
Jeez.
I've same thing. There's a lot of games on that PS4 shelf that I haven't touched, and I
Yeah,
plan
see?
on doing it one day. It's a
Are
bad
those
one.
all PS4 games?
On the top, yeah.
You
the
have
two
every game that is created.
There's a lot of games there,
don't you?
Yeah, I'm a little over 100 and something, but yeah, it is a lot of fucking PS. There's
my
some
God.
in the other room
I
too. So
don't even have that many Steam games,
That's insane.
and some Steam games are
you
like
guys have
$4.
seen my other room. You know
Yeah.
I do this.
Yeah,
It's
you're
You
still
don't have to
amazing.
act so
Yeah.
surprised.
It's still amazing
Yeah.
every time. You still
Find
get
something new
amazed
every
at
time
how
I
many
look.
hours I have on Rust.
Yeah, well, that's over a fucking month.
That's a disgusting.
You have done
There's no
literally
question about
a month, not a month with sleeping. You have played Rust for a solid month.
That is
And I enjoyed it.
disgusting
All
amount.
right, I had a
It
good
was-
time.
It's not wasted.
Okay, that's fair. I get it. I definitely get it.
I ruined so many children's lives.
Okay, well, if you didn't know, this was WTFN. We have now got actual places that you can check us out.
Yes.
You can check it out on Podbean. Just search up WTFN SoundCloud. All you need to do is Why the Fuck Not Podcast. YouTube, you can get WTFN Podcast on there and find it. There's also finding us on iTunes. We go by Why the Fuck Not. You can find us right on there. And of course, you can always reach us at Facebook, where you can just look up on Facebook. It's Why the Fuck Not, and or WTFN on Facebook. And of course, you can reach us on email if you have any type of topics or something you'd like to hear us talk about, even briefly. We invite you. We are looking forward to you actually messaging us and saying, "Hey, I would like to hear something about this." We will be starting a reader's mail.
Yeah.
It's called a reader's
Yeah.
mail. Get a chance for them to get your point across, which is absolutely great. Please like, comment, subscribe on all of these. It means the world to us. You don't understand. It makes us feel like we've actually done something and we're getting through to you guys. So like, comment, subscribe. Give us any type of comment that has positive or negative. You know, that it brings
We're
up
open to
that,
it.
that
Any
great
sort of
conversation.
feedback is good.
Give us feedback.
Any feedback is great. So either way, this has been WTFN. I'm Ed.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dwight. One love.